Welcome back, guys. This is Doug with Basement Level Magic, back for another Battle for Zendikar Swiss draft. They're firing quick tonight, so we'll go ahead and jump in one. Looks like we got a couple good cards in our first pack. Happy to play Shadow Glider, Sheer Drop, Drow's Emissary, Coom Stonewaker, and Dominator Drone. I think Drow's Emissary is the most fun for me of the cards here. I think Zada I've never actually tried to play in Limited. I think the Stonewaker is probably the best card if you're looking to beat down, if you want to play an aggressive deck. I just played Black-White the other day, so I'm going to take the Coom Stonewaker. I'm pretty happy to pick that up. Pack 2, less impressive. Gruesome Slaughter is okay if you're in the right deck and you pick it up third pack, but it's not great. Brood Monitor is okay if you're in green, and it's possible we want to go beatdown. With our first card, I mean the Snapping Gnarlid has the most synergy. I could just take a Reckless Cohort and try and be a red ally deck, which might be the safest pick, but then if you don't end up in allies, the card's almost unplayable. So even though it's not in the same color, I think probably the safest pick here is the Snapping Gnarlid. I could definitely see taking the Fertile Thicket or even the Tightening Coils, but I actually really like the Snapping Gnarlid, and if I want to play an aggressive beatdown deck, it's the exact kind of card I want. Here, Wind Rider Patrol is excellent. We're not in blue, and we're definitely not in double blue, but it's only third pick, so we could be. If we do want to play green or red, I mean the Nettle Drone is really an excellent card. Second Dominator Drone, I mean if we picked up the first one, yeah, absolutely, it's a great card. And then I also think Transgress is a really good card. I think probably going to take the Nettle Drone here. I hate to pass the Wind Rider Patrol, and I bet you if we win the first round or two, we'll see it, but going to take the Nettle Drone. So here we have an interesting pick. So Firemetal Mage is an excellent card. We're not in allies necessarily, but you don't really have to be. We've seen now 2 to 3 Brood Monitors. So there's a potential for a pretty good green ramp deck. But here we have a Stone Fury, and I think probably we want the removal over the ally card when we're not in any. We have no other additional allies, even though the Firemetal Mage can be fine on its own. Ulamog's Despoiler is an okay card also, especially if you're in a devoid strategy, but so far it doesn't look like we are. I'm going to take the Stone Fury. Not sure we're playing green, but so far we've picked up some pretty decent red. Chasm Guide, if we do end up in allies, is an excellent ally. It definitely works in the beatdown plan. Kozilek Sentinel, I know a lot of people really rank highly. There's another green token creator. Spawning Gut is a good card. Swarm Surge is a good card in the right deck. I'm really looking here between the Chasm Guide or the Vestige of Emrakul, and I think I'm going to take the Chasm Guide. I think if a lot of these allies start coming back around, it might just be where we want to be. And then I say that, and then the very next pack, so our one green card is a pretty good early drop, right? But if we're not playing green, and we don't necessarily have to be playing green, then the Ulamog's Reclaimer is quite good. But then we want to switch into a blue-red devoid strategy rather than the allies. The Ondu Champion is certainly something we could pick up here. I don't think it has the power level of an Ulamog's Reclaimer. Especially returning a Stone Fury to our hand. I'm going to take the Reclaimer. It's also kind of a hedge. We might not end up playing it, but if we do, we're happy to have it. Here we have another interesting pick here. So we now have one ally, but only one, although it is a good one. We could take the Reckless Cohort. The Valakut Invoker fits in a lot more red decks. I think it's probably the safe pick, so I'm going to take that. Here we can get a second Stone Fury or another McKindy Slide Runner. I'm sorry, or a McKindy Slide Runner. I like the McKindy Slide Runner a lot. but I don't think its power level is on par with the Stone Fury. Best card in this pack is probably the Shadow Glider. So I'll take that. Again, we're hedging. Here we could take a Devastator, or we could take a Reckless Cohort. I think at this point we want to take the Cohort. Since we know we're in red at this point, we want to make sure we cut it and we get as much of it as we can. And then we'll pick a second color, probably in the next pack. Best card left here, probably the Ondu Greathorn. I'm not a big fan of the Nirkana Assassin. That being said, do I want two of them? I mean, I suppose. It's not a bad card. It's just... And it blocks pretty well against a lot of the ally strategies. So if we come up to against a mirror strategy, it's not a bad card to have. And it's definitely beat down. I mean, it's intended to be, an aggressive card. Royal Mage's Trick, we're in one color for sure. We have decent cards in three. We could end up in a converged strategy. That's reasonable. Here we'll take the Altar's Reap, which I think is a good black card if you're playing a token strategy. And then an island. So I talked before about how I like to be 8-9 playables after the first pack. I think we're there. We just don't know what our second color is. If it ends up being green, we'll play the Snapping Gnarlid, so we were at 8. If it ends up being blue, probably play the Ulamog's Reclaimer. And if it ends up being white, we might end up playing all three of those cards. So we could take Smoldering Marsh for fixing. We could take a Court Castigator here. We could take a Clutch Occurrence, probably the best card here. Gideon's Reproach is a consideration. I don't think Rot Shambler's what this deck is looking for at all. And that's the second disposal we've seen, but we have no way to ingest. So I think probably we're looking to stay away from that. So really it's Clutch Occurrence versus Reproach, I believe. And I would consider the Court Castigator, but it's not on the same par as the other two. Benthic Infiltrator are also quite good, and does give us some ability to ingest. I think in this case we want to take the Clutch Occurrence. Another interesting pack. So the Veteran War Leader, if we do play green, and we play green and white, has the ability to go big. And it's excellent with the Grove Tender Druids, which we don't necessarily know that we'll get back. The best blue card here is just an Anticipate. I don't know, Merc Strider's close. We could take the Slide Runner. If we are trying to be in the aggressive deck, the Slide Runner is probably the place to be. If we want to play some of these white cards, like the Shadow Glider and Ondu Greathorns, I think the Sheer Drop is probably the best. Currently we have quite a bit of removal with the Stone Furies, although Sheer Drop comes down a little earlier if you're not Awakening. It's just a tough call. If we had picked up a couple more green cards in the first pack, I'd pick War Leader most likely, but I think because we didn't, I'm looking to take either the Sheer Drop or the McKindy Slide Runner. I think Sheer Drop just is the more powerful card. Could take a second Reclaimer, or could take a Merc Strider, or another Sheer Drop. Also could potentially take a Ghostly Sentinel. Tough pack. I think probably the Ghostly Sentinel is where I want to be. I think we're going to go ahead and move the white cards back in. And it'd be our first 5-drop creature. I mean, we could take the Sheer Drop and hope to wheel the Ghostly Sentinel, which does happen occasionally. I don't know. Sheer Drop is quite good, but if you're in a beatdown deck, you just might never get a chance to use it, as your opponent's creatures may just not be tapped because they're staying back. We'll go ahead and take the Ghostly Sentinel. Here our choices are Sandstone Bridge, Tandem Tactics, Shatterskull Recruit. That's really about it. Probably take the Recruit. I don't really like where this deck has gone so far. Ornreef Hydra is quite powerful. Most likely in this pack we're looking to pick up Valakut Predator, which would be the safe pick. The unsafe pick would be to Ornreef Hydra and then try to go green in the last pack, possibly even dropping the white. I think it's probably the middle of pack 2, probably too late to switch into green, especially for a double costed card, not guaranteeing that we get anything else. I'm going to take the Valakut Predator. Now, as far as combat tricks go in white-red, we have probably the two best here. Sure Strike versus Lithomancer's Focus. Sure Strike being able to do additional damage, one additional damage, and then Lithomancer's Focus being able to protect your creature from colorless spells. I'm going to take the cheaper of the two and hope to get the Sure Strike back, which is possible. Now, if for some reason we were splashing green, the Tajuru Stalwart is a good card to splash. Probably the McKinley Patrol, though, is just the safer bet. And this deck needs something to come together. It needs a top end to come together. Otherwise, it's just going to have to... I mean, it's going to have to win by, like, turn 3 or 4. Otherwise, it just won't have a chance. Or not turns 3 or 4, but probably by turn 5 or 6. Otherwise, it just isn't going to have a chance to win. It's going to get outclassed by a lot bigger stuff. Second, Akum Stonewaker is a good pickup. I think probably the best card here is the Rot Shambler. Here I think it's probably the Grove Tender Druids, the Ornreef Invoker, and I'm picking green on purpose because if for some reason we need to switch gears in pack 3, we like open a bomb that's in like a different color, that's in green specifically, you know, we're still able to you know, switch gears just a bit. Tajuru Warcaller, perhaps. Currently I only have one colorless spell, and that's something to keep in mind too. I mean, NetherRealm's still quite good. Again, taking the Earthen Arms because it's green, and that's sort of our backup color, but otherwise, nothing here that probably will play, including the Volcanic Upheaval. It's like a 4-mana remove an awakened land card, I suppose. Same as Reclaiming Vines. Probably not going to play it. We'll kind of see. I mean, we're at 17. That's not bad. But an Amiri Shepherd's not something we really can turn up or turn away. So we'll definitely play that. It's good in a beatdown deck too, because if we lose creatures early because we're attacking through, you know, it gives us an ability to return some. It's an excellent pickup for the deck. And doesn't rely on being an ally, which is nice because we have not ended up with such strong ally synergies as you would normally expect. You know, I'd love to take a Ruinous Path. It's just not possible to play in this deck. Same with Bloodbound Vampire. Whoever's playing black or black-white is going to be kicking themselves when they can't take both of those cards. But for me, we're not going to be gaining life, so the Serene Steward is really just a 2/2. I think probably we're weakest at our 4-drop slot, and then we could use more combat tricks. That's where creature heavy. I think the Ondu Champion comes back around. The Valakut Predator, or the Vestige of Emrakul, sorry, is a decent creature and something I would definitely consider, and it definitely combos nicely with Sure Strike. But I want to make sure I get the Sure Strike, so I'm going to go ahead and take that now. Boiling Rose could be quite good in this deck, as it will, you know, definitely be a good sideboard card for sure, but also good against any opponent that might also be playing allies or against the black-green deck or any green deck. I don't know that it wheels. The Invoker we already have one of. I could see taking the Hedron Archive here. This is just always good in pretty much every deck. I think that's what I'm going to do. Processor Assault we really don't have a way to activate, so I'm going to skip that. Stonehaven Medic would have been nice earlier if we'd been able to pick it up. I'll take the Ondu Champion though. We were talking about our 4-drop slot needing a little help. Here we could consider an Evolving Wilds. We could go with one of these, green cards and try and splash. I think Turn Against is probably just the safest pick. Remove a blocker, potentially attack through. Here we have Encircling Fissure versus Lithomancer's Focus number 2. I think Encircling Fissure is an excellent card, and I'm happy to pick that up. The Awaken 2, I think, is pretty weak, but the reason it's Awaken 2 is because it's one of the only instant speed, Awaken cards. Maybe the only one. So choice here is between Royal's Retribution and Sheer Drop. While Sheer Drop is pretty conditional in that, the creature has to be tapped. Royal's Retribution gives us the freedom to, divide as we choose between attacking and blocking creatures. So I think that's a better pickup here. Ghostly Sentinel number 2. The card is excellent. I don't think that we have enough colorless spells to warrant a Molten Nursery, although I do really like the card. I think probably Outnumber is the most efficient removal that we could have hoped to pick up, and that's where we should be. Nothing here for the deck, so we'll just take, the most annoying, probably the most annoying for me is the Rush of Ice. Nobody's playing the Salvage Drone. I was going to say that the Warpaint is actually a little bit tempting to have in the sideboard. The Boiling Earth came back around, so definitely going to put that on the board. So many cuts do we need to make? Currently need to make... I could almost see playing 17 lands. We do have one... where to go? One Sheer Drop, Encircling Fissure. So 2 Awaken cards. I'm playing 2 Ondu Greathorns. Not ideal, but in fact that could probably be one of our cuts. I'll just have to wait and see where everything ends up. It's not really a turn against deck, but every deck's kind of a turn against deck. Removing a blocker when the opponent thinks that they, are safe is definitely relevant. An opening hand with Stonewaker is like pretty awkward and not that fun. So we're hoping that doesn't happen. But otherwise, I think the deck is pretty good. We have some flyers, we have some early aggression, we have some combat tricks. So as far as non-creature spells, what do we want to remove? Not much, really. I could see cutting one card. Could honestly see cutting the Turn Against. But it's just always a blowout. I could definitely see cutting the Sheer Drop. I know it'd be an unpopular move for viewers, but it's not a card that I absolutely love. Shadow Glider's early evasion is nice. It would be excellent with a Warpaint on it. McKinney Patrol blocks so well early if you're not able to attack. I feel like we might want the Ondu Greathorn. And end up cutting like I think of the combat tricks we have, like Outnumber and Lithomancer's Focus may be superior combat tricks, as in they let you interact with your opponent better than the Sure Strike, which I think is more of a like sneak damage through type of card. I mean, we're not really ramping. The Hedron Archive I'd be playing mostly for the card draw. So that maybe could come out. Again, we're an aggressive deck, so Sheer Drop might be better in the board in this particular deck. Not that it's always better in the board. I could definitely see that. I would take out one Ondu Greathorn. We need to have basically done our work by the time we get to 4 mana anyway. And then I'd like to take out maybe one more. Actually, I think this deck could easily play 17 lands. Nah. Actually, the curve is actually a little bit high. There's a lot of 5-drops. It's a tricky one. The fact that we could have had 2 Ulamog's Reclaimers is pretty amazing. Would have been good. But I didn't see a lot of other blue to back it up. I'm thinking we want to cut one of the 5-drops, and I think it's the turn against. I don't know. Top out at 7, but we only have one 7-drop, no 6-drops. I'm going to play 17 lands. Yeah, we're primarily red, but we do have double-costed spells in both colors. So once this plays 7-10, and most of our early stuff is red. So I think 7-10 is good. Alright, we're going to submit that, guys. Thanks for watching. This has been Doug with Basement Level Magic. So catch me back here for round 1.